So I think we wanted to paint the picture, not give technical details, but paint the picture of what this experience has been like for us. And then we're going to show a quick demo afterwards. So before we get started, there were basically 3 phases to this competition. There was the first phase, which is a week-long intensive boot camp. And so we applied to this with the idea of the Native and Invasive Species project. To be more clear, Dr. Edwards mentioned what this was with Don Thomas. So the idea is on Mauna Kea there are very few rangers and there's a lot of visitors. People get bussed up there, and it's very possible for seeds from different countries to get brought up on the shoes of different visitors. We want to ensure that that doesn't take over on this very important preservation summit. So the idea was, let's let visitors capture a bunch of pictures of the plants for us, and using this technology we'd be able to crowdsource if there are invasive plants up there. So we pitched this idea to Microsoft for this first part of the competition, and we got in. We were amazed, and at least I had known about the Imagine Cup, and I had always thought that Microsoft, Bill Gates, the Gates Foundation, this is all sort of like humanitarian ideas. The Gates Foundation wants to cure malaria, this sort of thing. What we found out when we got there was this startup boot camp was teaching us how to be good businessmen. It wasn't about how to make a nonprofit. It wasn't about how to change the world for the better. It was how do you start a really great business that has amazing impact. And so we literally got like textbooks on how to make a startup. We visited Yelp, which is a big startup, and Rotten Tomatoes, which is a huge site. You looked for movie ratings. And one thing that we found out about halfway through this was if we were going to keep going on to the next part of the competition, the US finals, we were a little too narrow of a focus. No one really knows about Mauna Kea. It only affects a certain amount of rangers. And so we had a powwow, I think it was a Wednesday, during that 6th day, and we kind of nervously said to each other, I think we should do what we've always talked about doing, which is change our entire idea around and make it apply to disaster response. And we thought this would be not that big of a deal, but it would give us a better chance at the US finals. So that basically meant, staying up past midnight for at least 2 weeks straight. Way more work than we had thought it was going to be, but we knew that was really our only shot at the US finals. And what we found out too was in Silicon Valley there are certain buzzwords that they like to use. One of these buzzwords is MVP, your minimum viable product. Another buzzword is pivot, which means you make a product, you give it to your consumers, they tell you what they hate about it or what they love about it, and the idea is to pivot in a huge direction and change your vector and say, okay, we're not going to do that, we're going to do what the customers say. So our project, amongst all the other projects, we had Boston University had a really interesting project. Harvard had a pretty cool project. We really liked the guy from Penn State. There are some really great people from Ivy League places, but by far I think our idea had the biggest pivot. So we were applying like the startup knowledge that we had learned probably the day before. So I think that really secured them being interested in us representing them. And do you guys have any thoughts? I'm open to hear you guys too. I think we all really enjoyed the teams. There was a major amount of camaraderie amongst the different competing teams, which was pretty unexpected for me. I thought it was going to be a little bit cutthroat. But everyone was just happy to be there. They fed us well, which was probably part of that. And this is another kind of funny aspect of it. Speaking of cutthroat, so born and raised Big Island. Caton, born and raised Big Island. I was born and raised the Philippines, so we're all sort of like island boys, right? And so we're used to waving at your neighbors and even cars if you're going down Hawaiian Acres or whatever. But that is not the scene in Silicon Valley. In Silicon Valley, MBAs from Harvard go there so that they can cut people's throats and make $1 billion. And that was also an interesting part of our experience there, was having that sort of that mainland in-your-face attitude. I remember we were talking about the possibility of going on with the native invasive species, and we had one of our Harvard MBA guys anchor, be just straight up and say like, why do I care about your plants? I'm like, oh, well, they're invasive. But no, I don't care about your plants. Tell me why. And I think that kind of helped startle us into like the reality of like, okay, we're in a different place. This isn't Kansas. This is Silicon Valley. If we want to keep going, we're gonna have to make some major changes. So that was part of the reason I think why we got chosen, and we actually did have a lot implemented. We put a lot of love into actually, and when I say implemented, I mean we didn't come with just a great idea. There were some teams that actually hadn't really had a product, but they had a cool idea. And so we came with a lot of implementation. So when it came time to pitch and give a demonstration, it was really working. So besides the pivot, I think that all of that time that we somehow spent, well, full-time students doing this competition, ended up being like a huge boon to our chances. Let me see here. So what are we taking away from this? Obviously a lot of startup knowledge and some things that are pretty invaluable. There are a lot of good resources, like our professors have really helped us out here a ton. And we were in this scenario of being with people from Boston University especially. There are like little accelerators within their schools, and they have like 3D printers they can play with, and they have just tons of money to play with. So being in this competition has been just a major resource in terms of giving us all this knowledge in just kind of crash course setting that's been really invaluable. They also, I will say this, they're not telling me to say this, but I will say that Microsoft has treated us really, really well. One thing that I thought was particularly helpful was, we're used to being in our room at 3 a.m. programming in the dark, and one thing we don't like to worry about is, tons of business or tons of logistics. And so they really hooked us up with some amazing services where we have tons of free software and a lot of bandwidth that we can use to just play with our ideas and code. And just that alone, I thought was like an amazing idea to give to students so that we could just do what we want to do, which is just stay in that dark room programming and tinkering around, right? Yeah, they've been really great for us. In terms of other things we've kind of walked away from, I really enjoyed the experiences that we've gotten with the community on Big Island. There are some experiences I never would have been able to have, like Fritz Klasner, he's with OMKM, Office of Mauna Kea Management, great guy. He's one of the guys we did this invasive species project with. And he had me speak to them about this one time, and he kept apologizing to me, like, oh, I'm so sorry, it ran long, you had to stay for a half hour of our boring meeting. But those are really an enriching experience, I thought. We get to see how we are treating Mauna Kea with a lot of layers of respect and taking care of, there's a lot of care that goes into it. And I wouldn't really have that experience unless we did this competition, unless we got kind of in to the OMKM part of this competition. By the way, speaking of Mauna Kea, Team Poliahu, that's where our name comes from. Poliahu is one of the snow goddesses of Mauna Kea, so in case you're wondering, that's the origin of that. And then also meeting with Civil Defense has just been amazing. We had a meeting this past Monday, and there was just an incredible amount of great public servants there that were interested in taking a great majority of their Mondays during the weekday to listen to us and offer feedback. And so, we just have had an incredible past 3 months doing things we never thought we would do, and we want to continue going forward with this, and we're just really honored to be here in front of all you very, very esteemed individuals, and thank you a lot for coming.